All right, so I was thinking about Electro Boom's current video he put out, and uh, nice little up close there, a new material? Question mark. They might actually already have it. Maybe. I'm trying to clean my nose before this, so it didn't work. Anyways, called poly-crystalline acrylic. I don't know if that's an actual thing, but then at the same time, it's like, well, here's my thought onto how it might actually be something that could be done. Okay, so it's like take a regular acrylic and you have to layer it in sheets and have it offset, right? And so like you're gonna have like holes in there, really small holes most likely, and you're gonna have to compress it and heat it, do a little vibration action, standard vibration stuff, and then after you fill it and all the air, now it's technically in a vacuum, right? But it's like, all right, so then as I'm vibrating, I want it to then start spinning rapidly to try and create even greater degrees of pressure with if I can find the right sort of electromagnetic spectrum to push it with the right, kind of top and bottom and side to side and all that approach, there could maybe be a way to force it, especially if I can shock treat it during that. Like shock is in like electrostatic things. Although I'm not sure, like this is getting into more of a complicated endeavor now at that point. It's all doable though. Like nothing there would be like impossible. It wouldn't need to be like insanely high voltage. It's acrylic, bro. Like it doesn't really need that. And then it's like it's super hot. It's acrylic, so I don't think that would be the case. And it's spinning so fast. It's acrylic, man. I don't think it's gonna need that. So and it's like same thing with like an activator material at that point to help like force it to become a little bit more stable and structured. And a polycrystalline, if they can make polycrystalline diamond, they can make polycrystalline acrylic, you know what I mean? So it's like there's a way that can be done, and it would be clear, most likely, or at least pretty clear, hard plastic that would be resistant to temperature expansion and sticky kind of changes to its material design properties. And I thought about it because I was like, okay, so like, what about tempered glass nanocrystals or microcrystals? Placed inside of it to allow for a metamaterial and then like a sleeve on the inside, like a very smooth surface. Because it's like, well, this would be a way as a metamaterial at that point, especially if I can get a really good clear ceramic that would work with it to then produce a really hard, somewhat expandable, flexible material that would absolutely be just fine. In fact, it'd weigh a hell of a lot less than metal for our engines, or even fuel cells, and various other types of tanks like that we use in metals for like scuba liquid, gas storage. So, and now granted, at that point, it's not really a polycrystalline acrylic. It's more of a poly compound of multiple polycrystalline structures combined together to produce in much stronger material that has a better thermal and hard and resistive heat, but also conductive to, depending on all the ratios and dopamine, not dopamine, doping of the material, like, because it's like, all right, so if you allow for the, that kind of thing, then you should be able to get that, You know what I mean? But I should let you know, I've been awake for a while because I'm trying to fix the sleep schedule again. It always seems to appear in the fucking goddamn in the weekend. I hate it. For what it's worth, I wanted to go to bed earlier. I ended up continuing a doom scroll session when I wanted to go to bed. So that was something I ended up doing that I shouldn't have done. I decided to have more coffee, and I took my medication as normal. And that's just to try and go to bed later and maybe fix my sleep schedule. It's continuing too many times. It's clear that I'm kind of on a nocturnal schedule for some reason these days. I keep trying to fix it to a more regular schedule, and it's not working the way I would like. So that's one of the problems. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, right, coherer, not coherent, coherer effect from Electroboom. And I was like, there's a way to do that with the phononic resonance chips that I have already on my channels, or not my channels, one channel with the Magneto, Marvel character. Yeah, I responded to Kyle Hill, and I'm like, hey, maybe he didn't think about this. And it's like, it could be theoretically possible. Maybe there would be some kind of a way to do what is essentially a not actually long distance magnet sort of effect, but then kind of more of an optical tweezer magnet static charge, like a negative and positive, and then having iron be like a eddy current resistive thing inside the body, like optical zzz, and then it's like, that way they could get the iron out as they did in the movie, because he can control magnets throughout his body. So it'd be like a couple of pulses and frequencies and so on for, magnetic fields. So moving on, I was like, okay, so he did this coherer. It's very similar. So it's kind of hard to remember. Anyways, it's like, well, I kind of quickly was like, well, yeah, you could do it with that, because you could make a real qubit instead of a quasi-qubit with that sort of effect. Thanks to having the field effect corral a little bit, because it is a field effect, but it connects, given particles. In this instance, you'd use the electron orbitals to the nucleus as the particles, and then you'd be able to, with the right resonance of the pressure waves inside of a given, kind of like a pulse tube cooler, and some vibrators on that pulsing tube thing, which really just means diaphragms that vibrate it in the proper, correct resonant frequency. Anyways, long and short of it, you'd have lasers too, so on, and then you'd be able to pop up and then have it technically exist in a momentary state as a superposition that can then send out a light signal and a coherer effect as it drops down over to a tube next to it, and it would create stripes as it goes through. And so you can set it up to go boom, 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 boom. Kind of like a cascade sort of calculation because there's two there. It's almost like it's very much a error correcting qubit system that could calculate as it goes on, and you'd be able to detect the next tube and even other tubes around it, a real qubit information as it goes through, and be able to calculate more often. So there's that. And then I was like, right, but they would probably not want to build that right now. So I was like, all right, so let's look at static fields and, electromagnetic fields for transistors and standard silicon transistors, right? And so a coherer effect is I started off with liquids with some stuff in it, right? Because I can put liquids, and they were like, nah, I'm not going to do a liquid. I'm sure I would never do a liquid if I'm going to make these fucking transistors. So I was like, yeah, all right, fucking, it's probably true. If I was that person trying to make them and blah, 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 and give them the, the kind of pitch, right? It's like, all right, well, I'll just make it with air. You know what I mean? If I make it with air with the right transistors around it, and then I can make the air molecules that are trapped in there become, stuck in the right way that allow for it to produce the coherer effect, because we're talking much, much smaller. And so as a result, the coherer effect, which uses these little balls effectively to create with the voltage jump a circuit, and it can amplify or delay or increase or decrease depending on the type that you have, which are a bunch of transistors. Okay, so standard transistor stuff in multiple types. They're just field effect coherer field effect transistors. And then it's like, they might actually go for that. Then I was thinking about Intel and how they had this 8-core with like this stupidly large amount of threads, optical transistor thing that they were coming out with. And I was like, right, well, fiber optics are easy to make and turn into a coherer effect transistor with a, given like coil system around, and then another smaller coil system inside or nearby that allows for a voltage increase or, standard other field effects. And it would need it to be around anyways, because I'd like to try and cool it. So that kind of thing, right? And then it's like, well, I now have the ability to make field effect pin sets. Looking at my dog over there, if you can see him. I don't know if you can. Anyways, he was over there by the tree. He's behind the door now. Fucking damn it. He was trying to eat the... Anyways, moving on. It's like, well, I could then make a much more integrated, silicon transistor circuit. CPU. With that together. And make that field effect and coherer field effect alongside of standard transistor types with because I have to have fiber optics and they can only get so small. It's like, well, now there's a reason to have these larger transistors around. So it's like, fucking screw it. Why not? Right? So that's kind of what happened in the morning as the coffee and my meds hit me. And then I actually just really want to go to bed. I'm not even kidding. I'm like super tired and I want to go to bed. I just got really, stimulated because I'm ADHD. And I was like, wow, you know what? Fuck it. Why not try and create something out of this? I literally don't know what the coherer effect was. At all. Like I didn't know before Electro Boom's video that he put out today, and that made me go, you know what, screw it, let's see if I can, as my standard morning routine is, I'll do a comedy bit, I'll do, let's try and make something creative, try and put things I think about or have seen or heard about together in some cool way that might be actually manufacturable very quickly and make something happen. That's big and cool. They're something, so whatever. All right, there you go. That's the end of this. I am doing my laundry. I am just in my mother's workshop because she's in there, and my dog is a kind of a dick to the older dog that we have that she has. Because I live by myself and he's my dog, but he's just a bigger dog now, and he likes to be a little rough when he plays, and she's old and she can't handle it, so that's basically what that is. See ya.